All right, everybody, how we doing out there? Doc Severson here with you. Trade School for Tuesday, the 9th of October. Welcome aboard. Looks like we got a few folks out there. Hello. How we doing out there? Today, what I want to talk about with Trade School is, let's see, no trades today. We're going to be talking about candlesticks versus price action. So what takes preference, candlesticks or price action, trends? How do we do this sort of thing? So let me get right into this. I'm going to go big chart, little doc, and how we are going to do this, or at least the way that I do this, is I'll share this with you. So to me, candlestick analysis is complementary to reading price. Now, if you don't know what candlesticks are, we'll talk about that in just a minute here. Candlestick analysis is complementary to reading price, meaning that they can go together side by side. So one does not necessarily trump another. One is not more powerful than the other. They're just sort of different, right? So you'll find some of the same concepts with individual candlestick analysis versus using price analysis. Candlestick analysis is not really for reading trends. So candlesticks are more for finding those reversals that happen intraday, daily, monthly, whatever you want to talk about. It's for finding reversals, which is kind of the holy grail of trading anyway, right? We're always trying to find the reversals when the price is moving around. So you can use candlestick analysis to help spot additional evidence for a reversal. I often do. So you will hear me say, hey, look at this hammer candlestick down here. This is awesome. Okay, we need confirmation of this hammer candlestick. And, from there, we'll use different forms of analysis on there. But I would put it right up there with price analysis. I tend to, so let me backtrack here just a minute. So I would find a primary analysis technique to use and then only augment with other evidence as necessary. So determine what your primary analysis method is going to be. So this is where a lot of retail traders get hung up, because they just add one more indicator or one more technique or one more moving average or one more candlestick pattern or one more anything. Right? And next thing you know, you've just got this mess of crap on your screen and you can't make heads or tails of it, because they all are going in different directions. They're all disagreeing with each other. So find one primary technique that above all will rule. And for me, it's price action. And then I use candlesticks secondarily for that. Now, I'm not telling you that you have to do it that way. This is just how I do it. I use candlesticks mostly to determine where reversals might be, if I see a candlestick pattern that lines up with what I know. Now, let me back up here just for a second. I'm going to tighten this up. I think I've got the camera reversed correctly this time, so it's not backwards anymore. So this is the one book that I have from Steve Nissen. So I bought this book years and years ago. And it's kind of my reference for candlesticks, although you can find a lot of this stuff online. You don't necessarily have to buy this book. You can find tons of references online these days. When I bought it, the internet was still there, but there was not quite as much information online as available today. So you can find just about everything you want to know about candlesticks online today. If you want to, you can take courses in this. I actually did go to a seminar with Steve. This is about 10 years ago. I went to this seminar, and it was right during the middle of the worst financial crisis that we have seen in the generation. And Steve's an odd guy. I'll just say that. Steve is a unique individual. We did spend more time, so be careful if you go to a seminar, because we spent more time being sold to than being educated. So that's always a concern of mine when you see stuff like that. But the books are good. The classes are fine. He is sort of the the godfather of candlestick analysis in the Western world. He is the guy that went over to Japan, learned about candlesticks, learned everything about them, and then brought it back here to the Western world. So I give him credit for that. So he does have a lot of good materials out there. You can learn an awful lot from Steve. Okay, what my personal feeling on candlesticks is that there are so many patterns and it gets very sticky, like, oh, well, you have to make sure that the close is below the lower edge of where it was yesterday. And, you know, there's so many little rules that you find with each pattern. Like, oh, in this 3 candlestick pattern, the middle candle has to be within this pattern, and it's just gets to be really tricky. So what I did was I learned a few of the basic ones, which I'll talk about here today. And then that's it. That's all I need. A few of the basic ones are very, very powerful candlesticks, as you'll see. Okay, so let's dive into this. Okay, there we go. Let's get into the charts. So I've got one here that is one of my favorites, and I've used this candlestick pattern for years. Actually, it's only a single candlestick, so it's not technically a pattern. Anytime you have a single candlestick pattern or single candlestick signal, what Steve will always say is that it must be confirmed. A single candlestick by itself contains not enough information, but a lot of these are good enough that you can really start to look for additional signals from it. So here's Ethereum, and this is something that I mentioned back in the middle of September as we were scooting down this channel on big volume. Notice what we have here. And this is one of the most beautiful hammer candlesticks that I've seen in some time. Now a hammer candlestick, oh, I forgot to put up my magic drawing tool here. Let's get that up. Bear with me a second. So a hammer candlestick looks kind of it looks exactly like what we have here. What you have is a relatively small real body. And then from there you will have, oh, I suppose I should make it the same color. Let's make it the same color. And from there you're going to have a long lower shadow. These are also known as wicks on the candles. Long lower shadow. So what that means is that intraday, the price went all the way down here, plumbed the lows, and then rose all the way back again. Now, you're going to see weird things. This is what happens when you get into candlestick analysis. That is that the purists out there are going to, if you see something like this, oh, it's got an upper shadow. That means that it's not valid. Oh, come on, seriously. And this is where I have an issue with this, is that, look, just the spirit of what the candlestick is representing is enough for these. So hammer candlestick, I love these things. Notice how we had a nice probe lower. Now you don't want to see a hammer candlestick that looks like something like this. That's kind of weak, right? It's weak. You didn't have that much of a real press. The longer, the better. Look at this one. Awesome. Look at how well that showed the reversal up, even if it was a 4-day reversal, right? Work with me here, guys, right? That is the type of look that you want. You want something where the price starts out and it's just plumbing the lows and it's just getting wrecked to the downside. And then it recovers by the end of the day. Now, do I care? I don't care whether or not this actually creates a higher high, right? So what you're seeing on this candlestick is that the price started out here. This is the open, the top of this. And then the close was just a little bit below that. The close was just a little bit below that. So you'll see some people that want to see a green candlestick body, which means that the price actually started out here and ended here. I don't care. And honestly, I don't know what the definition is, as in the book. All I'm looking for is this type of look for the hammer candlestick. Again, see, this is what I get stuck with candlestick analysis, is that sometimes it gets a little too picky, a little bit didactic about this is the rule and thou shalt be this level. And we're not like that with price. Our price is much easier to read. It's either lower lows and lower highs or higher lows and higher highs. It's one of those two, or it's somewhere in between, meaning that it's trendless. Okay, so you're going to find all types of, isn't this kind of the same thing here? So a lot of people will look at that and say, oh, there's a reversal candlestick. But it has to be confirmed. So you can never take a single candlestick by itself. And this is even according to Steve. Got to be confirmed. Now, what happens with Ethereum the next day? Let's look for confirmation. I'd say that's confirmation. This is a bullish engulfing pattern. Or a big, hairy green candle. That's what we're looking for. So that's another pattern that I look for, or a single candlestick signal is either a bullish or bearish engulfing pattern. So what makes an engulfing pattern? An engulfing pattern is when you basically swamp several days or several periods of signals in one candle. Clearly, this one is a bearish engulfing, and clearly this one is a bullish engulfing as well too. So it wipes away the efforts of several bearish candles to the downside with one swift stroke, right? So those are two candles that we've talked about. Engulfing, actually three. Engulfing patterns and hammers. Now you can have the opposite of the hammer candlestick as well too. The opposite of the hammer candlestick, let's see. Let's reset this. And I'm trying to think of where I saw one of these here. Work with me here for a minute. Okay, it might have been on Bitcoin. Let's see if we had one on Bitcoin. Okay, what I'm looking for is the opposite of hammer, and it's a shooting star, and I'm not really seeing one here, with the exception that we have a couple of them here. Okay, so we're going to go back to earlier this year. And if you look at this, these are kind of the opposite of a hammer candlestick, are they not? The opposite of a hammer is what's called a shooting star. Now there's all types of different ones. There's abandoned, and I forget the names of them, guys, and I apologize. I forget the names, and this is why I sort of hit my limit with candlesticks after I learned a few of them that were important, and after that I was like, oh, this is just too much. It's just too much to remember, right? I'm more of a visual person. I want to see visual cues, and the visual cues tell me what I want to see. So again, here's an example where we have the same type of candlestick here. We do have a type of shooting star here, but it's not confirmed the next day. Now it gets confirmed. Now it gets confirmed. Those are confirmed. Right? So a shooting star is one where you're going to have a small real body and a relatively large upper shadow with this. Yeah, it does get a little ridiculous with the names and the patterns. But it's cool. I mean, some people like that. I don't want to denigrate that. Some people, they eat this stuff up and they can remember those things off the top of their head. And if they can pattern identify. Now, one thing I want to show you guys is that I'm sure you guys read the news that TD Ameritrade is getting into the crypto space, and that's really good news. Guess why? First of all, we get an excellent charting package with that. So this is going to be something slightly different. Now, we also get a great scanner with that. So assuming that, so this is the TD Ameritrade Thinkorswim client, and is what I use to trade options and equities in the US equity market. So I'm assuming, and we all know what that spells, right? But I'm assuming that they are going to just bolt on crypto exchanges into this. So it's going to be one interface to trade just about everything you want. Now, what I want to show you here is if you go to scan on something, and this is what's really cool, and this is not the only package that does this as well too, but we can go in here and we can scan, and hopefully you guys can see this. We can scan on bearish and bullish candlestick patterns. So we can scan for bearish ones only. So we can look for a dark cloud cover or a downside gap 3 methods or a downside Tasuki gap or an evening doji star, an evening star, or a falling 3 methods or a hanging man. or 3 black crows, or 3 outside down, or thrusting 2 crows, or upside gap 2 crows, right? So all of these different patterns. So eventually we're going to be able to just automate this. You don't have to implant these into your brain. Now, I don't think that TradingView does this. I haven't seen anything in TradingView that shows me this. I could be totally wrong because I really have, honestly, have not looked. But here's some bullish only candlestick patterns. And again, I'm showing you what I hope we will be able to bring to the crypto market here before long. Here is a hammer, right? There we go. There's our hammer. There's a homing pigeon, inverted hammer, matching lows, morning doji star, morning star, rising 3 methods. And there should be, there it is, 3 white soldiers, right? So there's all kinds of these silly little patterns, right? Wait till you get into option strategies. It's going to be just as bad with all the different names for these, you know, different strategies and stuff like that. It gets confusing, right? So this is one of the reasons why I learned the minimum that I needed to be able to help me spot reversals. And then past that, it's like, it's so open to interpretation that I just want to limit the set that I want to learn. Okay. Bearish abandoned baby is the strategy. That is through, look, guys, I don't know if TD Ameritrade is going to bring crypto to Thinkorswim. I hope it is to the Thinkorswim package, because that's why they bought Thinkorswim, is because they've got this awesome software package. And there's actually even better ones that are out there. So like Tasty Trade and things like that. Look, everybody, all the big guys are going to get into crypto at some point. You guys are just the early adopters. You guys realize that, right? So all the big packages like eSignal and TradeStation and all these other, they're not going to just idly let TradingView have the whole market to themselves. Eventually they're going to get into it like a ton of bricks, right? And they're going to give it away for free just to get people to switch over. And so the news gets better and better, right, for retail traders, because you're going to have all this power, all these tools that have been built for equity and option markets are going to be very easily bolted onto the crypto market. A candlestick in crypto is the same thing as a candlestick on the S&P 500. It makes no difference whatsoever what you're charting. Okay, so let me open it up here for questions. And yeah, there we go. Let me open it up for questions and let me know if you guys want anything. So really, you know, guys, there's just a few. Let's go back over to the charts and let's take a look and see if we can find any more here. There's just a few that I look at. I love seeing hammers. Hammers are some of the best reversal candlesticks that you will see. So here's a nice one on Bitcoin. That's pretty close to a hammer. Okay, there's not as much of a lower shadow as I would want to see, but that's the type of look that I want you guys to look for. You know, those kind of candlestick signals. Bearish engulfing patterns, right? There's a lot of dojis. Dojis, you'll see a doji is where you just get something where it's just, you know, it's just like there's no range. There's no net change on the day. It went up and went down, back again, and it pretty much closed where it opened. So there's a lot of indecision there. That's really all that means, is indecision. The market doesn't know what to do. Nobody's in charge. Bulls or bears. Supply and demand is balanced. Nobody wins. Okay, so let's see if we can find anything else here. There was see, not you know, I'm sure you could probably find some kind of candlestick pattern in here that shows a reversal because the little candles in here, but it's all over once the bearish engulfing pattern hits there. A lot of these reversals are all over once the bearish engulfing pattern hits, and this is what happens in bear markets. Okay, let's look at a couple other ones here. Let's look at, you know, like Ripple. Ripple shows, let's look a little bit closely at Ripple. The token, not the wine. Here is a hammer down here. Not a whole lot of volume. That actually printed the low right there, believe it or not. Bullish engulfing patterns. Bullish engulfing patterns. So Tig is saying, Steve Nissen talks about using Western indicators to confirm candlestick reversals. Do you go with that, or do you just go by the next candlestick to confirm? Well, that's actually a great question. So I don't like using Western indicators to confirm because I think that's a cop-out. And it's interesting that Steve would make that statement. I do remember him saying that. Because all the Western indicators are trailing, right? They're trailing indicators. They're delayed. They're derivatives of price and volume to begin with. So why wouldn't you use price to confirm? So my preference is to use price to confirm. So in other words, if I see a hammer candlestick down here, if I see the next candlestick or two reversing, then I'm going to say, yep, that's confirmed. That's good. Okay, so that's, let's go through a couple of these and see if we can see any. There is. Here's Bitcoin Cash. Roger Ver's in the news. Again, Bitcoin Cash is showing. Here's a nice little shooting star. Now, shooting stars, I really prefer to see them at the top of a pattern like this. Oh, that's ugly. That's really ugly. I like to see shooting stars at the top of a pattern. So my preference is to see a shooting star like this, and then it reverses like that. So this one's kind of an embedded one, but I tell you what, you get your confirmation the next day in spades, don't you? And here's sort of a hammer candlestick, isn't that? And it's confirmed the next day with a bullish engulfing pattern. So you can start to look for these. Again, you don't need to go through and learn every single one of the, there's probably dozens of different individual candlesticks and dozens of different patterns, which are either 2-bar or 3-bar combination of patterns. You know, actually, I applied to work for Steve. I was going to be one of his certified traders out there, and I made the final cut, and eventually I didn't get the position. Thank you. So that would have been a nightmare. So some things, fate works out best. Anyway. So, let's see if we can see any other ones. So learn to train your eye. Look at that little hammer candlestick down there. That's beautiful. Okay, it took a couple of days to confirm, and it really was a very tortured reversal that started at that point. But hammers are awesome. Look for hammers. Hammers all the time in a downtrend is what you want to look for. Yep. Okay. I'm going to look for just a couple more here, and let's see if we can. And then I actually did get a request from somebody to chart Digitex, if there is such a thing. And unfortunately, I can't chart Digitex on this platform because it's not on a big enough exchange yet. So obviously, Mercatox has no reciprocating agreement with TradingView. All right, I'm looking at, you know, like here, guys, this is what I want to see for a hammer candlestick is right over here. Now, is it confirmed? No, it's not confirmed. In fact, it doesn't do anything. The next day goes a little higher, then it gets faded back down, and then eventually. So one candle by itself, never a reversal does make. It's always a combination of candlesticks. Okay, let's look for a couple more, and let me know if there's anything that you want to look at here really quickly. I'll look at a couple more, and then we'll move over to Digitex and try. We'll give it the old college try to chart it. So here's Cardano. I don't see much with this. And now we're getting into the dregs here. Ooh, here's a nice one. This is here's a reversal, guys. Here's a great little reversal pattern. Oh, there's another one actually that I like as well too. And you don't see this one all that much. You don't see this one all that much, but when you do, it's really good. This is called a tweezer bottom. So you'll see something moving down like that, and then 2 candlesticks in a row. And you can almost view these as a tweezer, right? And then boom, off she goes. Oh, there is one more thing I want to bring to your attention. The difference between a reversal bar and a key reversal bar. So let's think about this. Let's think about an uptrend. Now, this is not candlestick theory. This is bar theory. But what Nissen did, or what the candlestick theory did, is that they adopted it and they called it like a dark cloud cover, right? Or a harami. That's how you have to pronounce it. It's not harami, it's a harami. Okay, so here's like an uptrend, and this is, let's say we have a candlestick here, which is a green one. What you want from a reversal bar, so this is a reversal bar. I'll draw this in yellow. A reversal bar is going to have a higher high, but a lower close. That is a reversal bar. It's a single bar reversal bar. Of course, it needs to be confirmed. But notice how it prints a higher high, but it has a lower close. Let's assume that it's, full red, and it actually closes lower on the day, certainly lower than yesterday's close. That is a reversal bar. Here is a key reversal bar. You don't see too many of these. We're heading higher, and of course, just flip these upside down for the bottom side reversal. Here's a key reversal bar. And let's get one more candle in here. So I've got a little candle in there. There's our green candle. Everything's heading higher. Everybody's happy, right? And then what happens is you have a higher high, but you have a lower low. This is a key reversal bar. So I believe Nissen calls this one a dark cloud cover. That's a dark cloud cover. And honestly, I don't know what this one is called in the Japanese world. But that is a key reversal bar. So this happened decades ago, right? This is just based on bar analysis that we've adapted candlesticks to. Just about everybody uses candlesticks. Almost nobody uses price bars anymore. And honestly, I don't know anybody that uses point and figure. Okay, let's see what James is writing in here. Equally valid in time frames, but a lower time frame will be much weaker than a larger time frame. Fractals, thumbs up. Lower time frame hammer will reverse a lower time frame chart, but may not propagate to a larger time frame. Fractals, thumbs up. I'm digging it. Let's see. Brandon wants to see Neo. Harami means pregnant in Japanese. Yeah, he actually, it's funny because Steve, to his credit, and I thought this was cool, Steve, to his credit, drilled us on how to say harami. So, don't you guys out there in Texas say harami. We got us a harami here. Okay, let's look at Neo, and then I will transition adroitly to... Was it Neo? Yeah. Brandon wants to see Neo. And then we shall transition over to Digitex. Did you guys see Walton Chains getting a little bit of a bid? Somebody mentioned that in the Discord room. Okay, not much to see here for Neo. I mean, I see one hammer candlestick over here, but it didn't do anything. Didn't do squat, and really wasn't very big either. You want to see some bigness. You want to see size in your hammers, right? You want to see dramatic lower lows rising up. So here's a good example of a hammer that really didn't do anything. One candlestick does not a reversal make. Got to be confirmed. This is why I just use these things like salt and pepper on my price action, right? Just use them as garnish, right? Just use a little bit. You don't have to get overall intense on the candlesticks. Anyway, that's the way I do it. You can overload as much as you want to. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go over to Digitex futures, let's see what's going on here. So this is the only way I really chart this right now, because in Mercatox there's a little plugin, there's a little chart plugin, and I find it just completely useless. It's stuck on the 1 hour chart. I have no idea how to set it up for a different time frame. It doesn't really give me any information. I can't put any studies on it. If I can, I have not figured out how to drive it yet. So what I will do quite often with something like this, guys, I really don't care about the chart. To me, this is not a technical trade yet. This is not a technical trade yet. So if we can look at this in a 1 month, we have a nice basing pattern out here. We have range expansion. We have a few days of range contraction. That's good. That's what you want to see. You want to see range contraction, range expansion. This is what we want to see for Digitex. We want to see a nice supply-demand imbalance. We want to see that move to, normally it's going to show some type of pennant pattern, something like that, and it can be extended. What we don't want to see is it just sort of drift back down again. We do not want to see that. We want to see it hold support, and it can bounce around inside this level. And then we want to see it stair step to the next level, and then go through the same thing all over again. This is what we want. That is a healthy supply-demand type of arrangement. Stair stepping is part of what's called quiet and trending price character. Oh, and the Delta portfolio app is much better. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. I wouldn't doubt that. You know, like, Delta and Blockfolio driving me nuts, because I've had to either change phones or wipe phones recently, a couple of times in the last few months, and every time I do that, bye-bye. Everything's gone. I have to start from scratch again. No Cloudboys portfolio in there. I'm sure there is one if I were to pay for it, but there you go. So right now, Digitex is doing precisely what I want it to do. It's just trading within a triangle formation here. It's consolidating. I don't want to see it do this. Do not want to see it do that. If it does that, I will sell it into a level that I determine is at exhaustion. And I don't know what that is yet. So as long as it's going to do this sort of thing, as long as it gets fed, consolidates, gets fed some new piece of news, consolidates, supply and demand, more people find out about it, I'm going to hang on to this thing. I'm not looking to sell it. This is just an investment right now, number one. Number two, it's a trading currency for when the exchange opens up. So you want to get as much as you can. So if DGTX falls out of the box, will I sell it? No. Nope. I'm going to hang on to this thing. Look, we started talking about this coin when it was 0.8 cents. So that's the majority of my position was built in at 0.8 cents when I was cutting the videos and sharing with you guys. Right? So, but I still look at this thing and it's, how much is it? 7.5 right now. And I'm like, 7.7 cents. It's cheap. It's cheap. So I really don't care. I'm not really charting this right now. I know that sounds like sacrilege coming from me, but it's not. I really don't care right now about the supply-demand equation. It will eventually be chartable. It will eventually start to respond to technical patterns. In fact, it may already have done so, based on the fact that it's consolidating now, which is good. You want it to do that. But there's some things that I care about and other things that I don't care about. And what I find is the longer that I do this is that there's some things you're just better off not caring about it. That was one thing I learned from Edwin Lefebvre's book, talking about Jesse Livermore. If you don't know who that is, if you don't know what that's all about, get it, read it. It's a good read. It's actually very interesting to read. It's about Jesse Livermore, the guy that basically brought Wall Street to its knees back in the 1920s. The lessons from 100 years ago do not go away. The same patterns from 100 years ago do not go away. Supply and demand do not go away. Why does that not change? Just because there's bots and all that stuff? It's because human emotions are still the same. And as long as human emotions are part of a financial market, markets will be exactly the same. Guys, read about Jesse Livermore and understand how to hold things. Understand how to build a position from Jesse Livermore. Ian is asking, how do you begin to figure how far up in price you think an asset can go? Ian, if you knew the answer to that, if I knew the answer to that, I probably wouldn't be here today, right? Nobody knows the answer to that. You can play some games. You can do things with fib projections. Well, that's based on the last swing. That is 161.8% projection of the last swing. You can play games like that, but look, nobody knows. What you're looking for is something where supply and demand is completely in imbalance, right? There's no supply. There's a hell of a lot of demand, and everybody's clawing over each other to get into the thing. And probably the one thing that everybody needs to learn to do is to when that happens, when you get objective signals to get that. And everybody, for some reason, that seems to be like the most popular question lately. Like, hey, when we get the next moon, how do we know how to sell so I don't screw up like last time? And you can do that in a lot of different ways. And I've gone into some of this in some of the programs that I've done in the past. You can do it off of like larger time frame RSIs. You can do it off of larger time frame RSI bearish divergence. You can do it off of levels that you think may be round number resistance and be happy into that. And full disclosure, I sold the majority of my Bitcoin position into 10,000 back in December. That's what I did. Be comfortable with selling into strength. Don't be the last person to hold on to it. Let's see. Yeah, Tig has got it. Yeah, it's not even, the best quote in there is not even from Jesse Livermore himself. It is from, I don't remember the name of the individual, but there is a story in there about seeing something rocketing up in price. And a junior member would go up to this older established trader and say, my God, look at it go, look at it go, look at it go. Are you going to sell into this? Are you going to take profits? And the older trader looked at him and said, no, my dear man, if I did that, I'd lose my position. It's all about establishing a position. So the second thing I learned from Jesse Livermore is that, and this was from him, is that the greatest gains are from him doing nothing, sitting. The greatest gains that he ever found were from him just sitting. Now, that begs the question, so when do you eventually sell? And this is why I scale out of positions. I determine what I think is a reasonable target such that if the price were to go all the way back down to zero, I'd still be ahead. So I'll sell into the position. Now, that's actually different from what Jesse Livermore used to do. He would scale into the position. As he was proved right, he would actually add to it. And I've done some of that with some coins like Digitex. I've actually scaled into the position because I still consider it to be extraordinarily cheap compared to where it will probably be. Now, I don't think it's going to be a $10 coin like some people are talking about because there's too much supply right now. There's too much supply that's out there, but it may be somewhere between now and $1 at some point. And that would be nice. Okay, guys, any other questions out there? Anything else? All we're missing here is just a fine adult beverage. That's all we're missing right now. And we could keep going. Hey, I'm going back to England in next May. Actually, Mav and I are going to England next May. So we're going to be sampling some of Britain's finest again. We may even get up to Scotland as well, too. Unfortunately, we're not going to get across the Irish Sea. But we're going in search of malted beverages once again. So we'll try to keep the newsletter up while we're out there sampling the local culture. All right, guys. Barring any final questions, let me know if there's anything else. Otherwise, I will bid you guys a good day. And I think that's what I will do. So if there's any other questions, let me know. And I will get you guys all set up. And let me know if there's anything else that I can do. You guys take care. We'll see you around.
There goes a sight from my soul.